Pretty much everyone has at least one scar. Maybe it's from a bike crash when you were a kid, a little slip up in the kitchen, or even from surgery. But have you ever really stopped to think about what's going on under the surface? I mean, how does a simple injury turn into a mark that lasts a lifetime? Well, today, we're going to break down the amazing science of your body's own repair kit.
So here's the game plan. We'll start with the basics, what a scar actually is. Then we'll dive into the body's healing blueprint, figure out why every single scar is unique, and then we'll get into classifying the different types. And finally, we'll talk about the bigger picture and their impact.
All right, let's jump right in. When you look at a scar, from a biological standpoint, what are you actually looking at?
Okay, so a scar isn't a flaw, not at all. It's actually a success story. See, when your skin gets injured, your body's main goal is to patch that hole up as fast and as strong as it can. To do that, it builds a sort of patch out of this tough, fibrous protein called collagen. This new tissue, it's different from your original skin. It's tougher, and your body can make it way faster. It's like your body's own heavy-duty, built-in repair kit.
This is a really crucial point. You can't just get rid of a scar completely. It's a natural, permanent part of the healing process. So the goal of any treatment isn't to erase it, but really to improve how it looks and help it blend in as much as possible.
So how does this whole repair job actually happen? Well, the journey from a wound to a scar isn't random at all. It's better to think of it like a highly choreographed four-act play, and it's directed entirely by your body's biology.
Okay, so Act 1 is hemostasis. This is the emergency response. Within seconds, your body is already forming a clot to stop the bleeding. Act 2 is inflammation. This is when the cleanup crew arrives. White blood cells rush in to fight off any potential infection. Then you have Act 3, proliferation. This is the building phase. Special cells, kind of like little construction workers, start laying down a scaffold of new collagen to fill in the wound. And finally, the grand finale, Act 4, remodeling. This is the longest stage by far. It can last for a year, sometimes even 2, as your body slowly reorganizes all that collagen, making the scar stronger, flatter, and way less noticeable.
So why did that cut on your knee heal so differently from that one on your hand? And why do some people seem to scar way more than others? Well, it turns out the final look of a scar is decided by a really unique cocktail of different factors.
First off, there's the injury itself. A clean, surgical cut is going to heal much differently than, say, a bad burn. Location is a big one, too. Areas where the skin is under a lot of tension, like your chest or shoulders, they often form thicker scars. Then you've got the personal stuff, your genetics, your age. And here's a funny thing, younger skin has this really powerful healing response which can sometimes lead to bigger, more prominent scars. And of course, external factors like smoking or getting an infection can totally mess with the healing process and change the final result. So with all these different variables in play, it makes sense that scars don't all look the same. And because of that, clinicians actually classify them into several distinct types, all based on how they form and what they look like.
First up, you've got atrophic scars. These are the ones that are sunken or pitted, like the kind you get from bad acne or chickenpox. That's where tissue is actually lost. On the other hand, you have hypertrophic scars. These are raised because of an overproduction of collagen, but, and this is key, they stay neatly within the original borders of the wound. Then there are keloids. They're also raised, but they're way more aggressive. They actually grow beyond the site of the injury. And finally, contracture scars, which you often see after severe burns. They cause the skin to tighten up, and sometimes they can even restrict your movement. Now, this distinction between hypertrophic and keloid scars is so important. The real key here is the boundary. A hypertrophic scar, even though it's raised, it respects the borders of the original injury. A keloid, on the other hand, is like a scar that just doesn't know when to stop. It keeps growing beyond those borders, and knowing this difference is absolutely critical for getting the right diagnosis and treatment. So, we've covered the biology, all the variables, the different types. But a scar's story isn't just about skin and collagen, right? It has a very real, very human impact.
Research actually shows that even a small or what seems like a minor scar can have a pretty significant psychological effect. For some people, it can be a constant reminder of a traumatic event, or it can really affect their body image and self-confidence. It can even lead to anxiety and distress. Understanding this emotional side is a huge part of understanding the complete picture of scarring.
So, what's the big takeaway here? If you have a scar that's bothering you, the path forward is a pretty simple 3-step process. First, try to get an idea of what type it might be. Second, think about the factors we talked about that might have influenced it. And third, and this is the most important step, go talk to a professional, like a dermatologist or a plastic surgeon, to get an accurate diagnosis before you even think about treatment options.
At the end of the day, every scar tells a story of an injury and the incredible repair that followed. And while that story is a totally natural part of being human, medical science now gives us more ways than ever to influence the outcome. It really makes you wonder, if a scar is a story written on our skin, how much power do we actually have now to edit that final draft?